The CEO of Optus has denied misleading the Communications Minister about the true extent of the Telco September 000 outage that's been linked to 3 deaths. Annika Wells' office was informed of the outage on the afternoon of the 18th of September, but was initially told it only affected about 10 calls. Stephen Rue is among executives from the company facing a Senate inquiry today and has been pressed by Greens Senator Sarah Hanson-Young on the timeline of events.
What has occurred here, and again it's an explanation, not an excuse, what has occurred here is people in a call centre making calls to ask people, do you still need emergency service or not, hearing some devastating news and then processing it and then finding a way to communicate it.
And as a management team, you left them to deal with that on their own, didn't you?
Well, there was an expectation, Senator, that anything that came out of that would be escalated.
On what basis was that expectation communicated that afternoon when the welfare checks had started? Did you send a message to your team? Because clearly Ms Ross didn't think she had to tell you she knew the calls actually had gone to 100. She's just admitted that. She knew it was a whole lot worse and she didn't tell you.
I understood that the process around making welfare checks was going to be 10 individuals and that again, the information would have been imparted that those had taken place. So Senator, I'm not hiding from the fact that there was, again, I gave you an explanation, not an excuse. I'm not hiding from the fact that things were not escalated.
Well, for more on this, I'm joined in the studio by business correspondent David Taylor. David, CEO there, Stephen Rue, under a significant amount of pressure this morning.
Extraordinary amount of pressure, Kath. And the bottom line here is that Singtel owns Optus entirely. So when it comes to his position, because if you looked at the pressure that Stephen Rue was under this morning, anyone would question how long he can stay in that position. But when the CEO of Singtel was brought to Australia last month, the question that was asked of him was, do you back your CEO? And if you do, why? And it was clear that he did back them because Stephen Rue had been brought on to fix the problems that Optus has. Because this isn't a one-off. Back in 2023, Optus had a similar outage that affected 000 calls. So the owner of this company, Singtel, did a lot of work to try and work out, okay, who can we bring into the organisation to fix this mess up? Now, in addition to a lot of other inquiries that are taking place to try and make sure this doesn't happen again to Optus, Stephen Rue's job is to make sure that they can actually get through this mess. The question is, Kath, given the amount of pressure he is under, will Singtel and indeed the Optus chair eventually say this is too much? And I guess the governance issue is the pressure on Stephen Rue distracting the organisation from actually getting on to fixing the problem. And that's the case with most CEOs. If the pressure or the distraction is too great, they'll have no choice but to get rid of him. But at this point, he's being backed by Singtel and he's being backed by the chair, so he's safe for now. OK, so Dave, can you just remind us about how this outage unfolded and how else the Optus CEO has responded to questions from senators today? And that goes right to the heart of this because he hasn't responded as well as they would like him to respond. There's a lack of information here. But clearly in the very early hours of September the 18th, people were unable to make 000 phone calls who were connected to the Optus mobile service. Now, that went right through until the early afternoon on September 18, and the question around when did Optus know that these phone calls were unable to be made? Obviously, the first point of call is the Optus customer service officers overseas. They didn't escalate the problem. And then fast forward until the early afternoon and management is informed. But then questions around, well, the questions that the senators wanted to know from Stephen Rue today was, OK, so when you found out, did you then tell the authorities? Did you tell ACMA? And the answer was no. And then the question is, well, why? Because that's your responsibility. And he was accused of basically trying to get his ducks in a row or manage the crisis around it before he informed authorities. But Kath, the two other things I really want to mention is that he was asked specifically today by the senators if he had met with the families, or at least Optus had met with the families, and if Optus had offered compensation. And he said, I'll take that on notice. And Sarah Henderson, the Liberal senator, took issue with that. And a moment ago during a press conference was quoted as saying that even though Stephen Rue had said that he would take care of that very important aspect of the problem, she said, I don't have the confidence Optus will do the right thing, which is extraordinary. And the second thing I just want to mention is that Annika Wells' office was informed on September 18, but the questions around the information that Annika Wells' office was given, there is controversy around that because there was 10 phone calls that were originally tied up in the problem. Now, those 10 phone calls turned into 600 phone calls. We learnt that at the press conference the following day, and that was wound back to 480 phone calls. So the senators were simply asking Stephen Rue, did you misinform the senators, the minister's office? And he said he didn't.
Okay, David Taylor, many thanks.